im se svima, i malima i velikima, i bogatima i siromašnima, i slobodnjacima i robovima, dade žig na njihovu desnu ruku ili na čela njihova, te da nitko ne može ništa kupiti ili prodati.
Pozdrav dragi narode, dobrodošli u još jednu epizodu Slobodnog. Današnja tema je vjerovatno svima jako zanimljiva i aktualna. Možda ste čuli HAARP, možda ste čuli chemtrailse. Što je to? Moja današnja gošća je netko ko to dugo istražuje i napisao je trilogiju o ovoj temi i uistinu danas ćemo imati prilike vidjeti stvari koje će za mnoge biti ekskluziva. Od ovog trenutka razgovor će ići na engleskom jeziku. My today's host is Elana Freeland. She's the author, and today we'll talk mostly about her book Chemtrails, HAARP, and full spectrum dominance of planet Earth, but also additional things what are important for this subject. Hello, Elana. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Andrea.
Well, please tell a few words about your work and about yourself for our audience.
Well, I would like to say first for your audience, which is very special for me, I too am from a Slavic mother and grandmother, and I very much feel Slavic here in America. I was born here, but I was raised in an Eastern European neighborhood, very big neighborhood, where I heard 5-6 languages a day. And so I was baptized Russian Orthodox. And I feel I always pay attention to what is going on in Eastern Europe. And I have been on several radio shows for that. So regarding my involvement in the chemtrails and the geoengineering, which is really the same thing, it's been 13 years I've been involved in it now. And I very much did not know that I would be writing 3 books about it, about what was going on. I did not know that it was national security, though I did notice that it was hidden in the news constantly here in the United States. So it's been a long journey for me of much research and getting to know other people who are also seeing the same things, very similar thing to what I see. And we have all worked together. And there have been a few agents who have penetrated our movement on the internet who have attempted to dispel the public's belief in us, calling us conspiracy theorists, chemtrail, tinfoil hats, etc. But we have persevered because we want the public to know this hidden agenda that has happened right in front of us all these years. And when I say all these years, I'm saying that the geoengineering has been going on for 25 years. And it's as though they keep talking about it in the news as if, you know, we may have to do geoengineering. Gee, that will be really hard and not so good. But we may have to do it. And that is not really what has happened at all. We have had this for 2.5 decades.
Okay, can you tell us directly, what is HAARP?
HAARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project. It's up in Gakona, Alaska, basically in the Arctic Circle, which is very, very important when you're dealing with a technology which is electromagnetic. Now, HAARP was the first book written on HAARP was in 1995 by Nick Begich and Gene Manning, called Angels Do Not Play This HAARP. And the acronym HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, has been very popular, but it is amazing to me that I constantly, when I go to conferences and give talks in front of big audiences, hardly anyone has heard of HAARP. I don't know how the press does that. It's really remarkable to hide something in full sight. So HAARP is important.
That's why we are here today.
Yes, it's important because it is tremendously powerful ionospheric heater. It is not our first ionospheric heater at all. We've had one in Puerto Rico. NATO forces in Europe have one in Russia. Well, Russia's not NATO, but with Sweden, there's a big one there. There are others scattered about who are the big ones, but now they have made it smaller and mobile so that it is often on platforms that belong to the oil industry. It can be in the North Sea. It can be in the Atlantic or Pacific, all over the world. And it is important that they have more than one ionospheric heater because they often triangulate these are phased array antennas. So they make these rays, these beams, very powerful beams. And if they want to, say, bring a tornado or a flood or a hurricane, they will need more than one HAARP instrument. They'll need to have 2 to 3. And so that's really, when I heard about your flooding, that is exactly the way I thought of it. Was my guess would be, given where Croatia is, that it would have been the one at Tromsø, Sweden, and that it would have been 1 or 2 other electromagnetic ionospheric heaters that were involved. And they would all target their rays over the target area. The same thing happens with geoengineered fires, such as the one that Portugal had. Portugal had a series of fires, very serious forest fires, in 2017, at exactly the same time that we had the forest fires in California in the western United States. And I noticed, I always pay attention to dates to see when these things are done and to see if there's any correlation with others in order to understand that this is I would call it, here in America, I would call it a PSYOP. It's an operation probably overseen by intelligence agencies, but put out by organizations like the ones we have here that are dedicated to what is known as the secret space program. I don't know how it is in Europe. Of course, the EU would be very much would know about these things, and decisions would be made at the highest echelons if there were to be a disaster created in certain nations in NATO. So that would be through HAARP. I call it HAARP technology because there's the one huge ionospheric heater, and that is with phased array antennas. They're very, very unique. And if you own a cell phone, which I refuse to own because it really is a weapon system, the cell phones back to the 4G and now with the 5G, they all have phased array antennas in them. And what that means is the antenna is not broadcasting widely and in a circular manner, but the beam can be directed. There are many, many beams in a phased array antenna, and all of those can be consolidated and coalesced into a super beam. And that's, of course, how it works for the cell phones, because they're looking for contact with the cell towers, or you might call them masts. But that's the same way HAARP works, just on a much larger scale.
Okay, let's make it clear for our audience. Can human influence on weather and create storms, hailstorms, floods, drought, everything what we are now seeing as extreme weather conditions?
Oh yes, they can. Humans, it can be man-made, as we say here, but I can say much further than that all the weather now is controlled, all of it, on the entire globe. And does that mean that different nations have different amounts of control? Yes, it does. But the technology, as you know, primarily came initially from the United States, and that goes back to the 1990s. The HAARP is particularly powerful in this, as I've said, and if we were to have, say, a tidal wave, that would require several ionospheric beams to be involved. For a flood, you need less beams and less power. And if you control the flood for several days, which is certainly doable, it would include satellites, and it would include cell towers. It would include what we call here NEXRADs, the big radar, golf ball-looking types of technology. It would require radar from military bases, etc. So all the weather is controlled because, and this is why, and this is very, very important, because since 2013, HAARP technology has absolutely controlled the entire ionosphere. And the ionosphere is above our planet, starting at around 40 miles up, and I don't know how many kilometers that is, I don't remember. And it then it goes all the way up to the magnetosphere, which is above it, another round sheath would be a good word for it. And the ionosphere is primarily filled with ions. And those atoms that are in the ionosphere that still have their electrons, if they send a HAARP beam up, remember, with all those smaller beams together, send it up to the ionosphere, it'll poke a hole in the ionosphere, go inside, go into it, and produce more ions, and then draw those ions down to our planet. And that's where the weather control, and that's only one operation. There are 7 major operations going on through HAARP technology. But for the weather, those ions come down into our atmosphere, and they are now positive and negative charged. So what I'm saying is the entire atmosphere of the Earth is electric. It's ionized, and that's what ionized basically means. And so why is that? Why are they doing that? Well, it's a military thinking that has created our atmosphere to be ionized, which requires it, by the way, to be very dry. So when you look at the clouds overhead, thinking these are the same clouds that you would have seen 50 years ago, that is not so. These are basically artificially created clouds created by plasma. And plasma is thought of as the 4th state of matter. I want to just make clear that I don't agree with that. I think it's a lie. And I think that plasma actually is the 1st state of matter. But so we see these clouds. They're very puffy, or maybe it's a cloud cover, right? When you see the trails coming from the jets, eventually those trails, if they are not contrails, and there are very, very, very few contrails now, you might see a small jet high up, maybe 42,000 feet up, that lets out a small trail behind it that then dissipates very quickly within less than 30 seconds. And that would be a contrail. But now what we see are, thus the word chemtrails, which, by the way, I want to make clear, is not a conspiracy term that we thought up out here in the internet, but is an actual U.S. Air Force Academy term for their chemistry manuals that all pilots are required to study. And on the very front of it, it says chemtrails. So it's very clear that this was a military creation, because when they bring those ions down, to make everything electric in the atmosphere for wireless telephone calls, fast movie downloads, military operations that require masses of electrical and magnetic waves. All of this requires that the atmosphere is dry and popping with ions. And that's why they have, when the chemtrails are coming out of, whether it's commercial jets, passenger jets, or military jets, those trails are either the fuel in the jet is treated with various chemicals that will respond to the electromagnetic controls coming from the Earth. That would be laser, that would be other beam technologies, and then, of course, keeping the atmosphere completely ionized. So that's what all that stuff coming out that we call chemtrails is about, is this, it's called doping, and it means that in order to keep electricity will not travel in a vacuum. So space in our atmosphere has to be full. It looks empty. It looks like, if you see blue sky, you think, oh yeah, the sun is shining and the blue sky is reflecting from the oceans, and et cetera, like when we were children we would hear, hopefully in class, with science lessons. But now what we really have is this atmosphere that is completely full of particulates. And these particulates we call nanoparticles.
Okay.
And the nano simply means that they're very, very tiny.
Okay, let's clear it up. That means HAARP need chemtrails to work better. Without chemtrails,
Yes.
Without these particles, they cannot work. Okay?
That's right.
Can you tell us, I have first question, are they have possibility to bring storm or hailstorm precisely where they want? Is there technology that can bring storm exactly on the place they would like to?
Absolutely. And this brings up the other question, which is how HAARP technology is used for targeting regions, targeting people, targeting ethnic groups. There are all kinds of things, because remember, HAARP is used for this, what is called interferometry technology, interference technology, beams interfering with each other over target areas to cause a certain pressure difference there that then can be ignited in various ways for what we call weather. I'm not sure that much of it is weather anymore. It's more like a weapon. And so if they want to bring, I was reading how they had hail, I think, what country was that? It was a European country just a few days ago.
Slovenia.
Big hail balls. Was it in
Slovenia.
Romania?
Yes, it's a neighbor country.
Slovenia.
Slovenia, yes.
All right. So Yes, all you would have to do is, again, because all the weather can be controlled, and I didn't mention that not only do they control the ionosphere entirely, they also control the jet stream. And the jet stream is what we think of when we think of the weather moving across the Earth from west to east. And so the jet stream is also controlled. And what they can do is they would adjust the weather with their instruments, and that would be a matter of calibrating some of the ionospheric heaters to work together, to be in the same frequency. Then they could control that, make it, they've got the other weather going around the entire planet, whatever, and now they can move this one part of the weather to this one area where they want to create a hailstorm. And then they dial in. Everything is frequency, just like Tesla told us. I mean, God bless Tesla. He told us how this technology works, and the Americans pretty much stole it and have weaponized it. So we know that it's all a matter of frequency and vibration. You get the same frequency of several beams coming into the same area, and you can produce a hailstorm, and you can even tell it how long it's going to last and what kind of damage it's going to do. I mean, it could even do one building. And that would be probably with the help of some of the sites that are up now. And realize that when I talk about satellites, I'm talking about over 100,000 satellites are up now, not just Elon Musk's small satellites, but Google has satellites up there, Amazon has satellites up there, NASA, NOAA, etc. So you would use probably, because you would need that laser eye of the satellite, which is really tremendous, can just narrow in on the tiniest postage stamp detail on the Earth, hundreds, if not thousands of miles below. So that is entirely not just possible, but I have gotten to where when I see one of these things happen, such as, a hailstorm in July, or and then I see the words in the articles that are describing the event, unusual, anomaly. There are certain words they'll use that mysterious, and that's how I pretty much know it's been geoengineered.
Tell me, how can we recognize storm or hailstorm or any weather condition that is made by this technology with the difference what is made by nature?
I really don't think that anything is by nature anymore. I mean, if you understand what the atmosphere is, and I have some very simple books about the atmosphere that I have read, you understand that nature works as a composite, a yin and yang, like the old Chinese philosophy. Everything is all one, but it's all moving in its own rhythms and its own necessities. Native Americans, Indians in America, of course, knew this for thousands of years here, and had their dances wherein they would create a certain frequency through their prayers, through their dances, and then they could bring rain in a drought. This is the truth about nature. Nature is alive. I mean, I don't know how else you can think of it. You put a seed in the ground and give it a little bit of water, and boom, here you have plants coming up, food, nutrients. So the earth is alive, nature is alive, and what we have going on now is a tremendous shift from the old science of nature, wherein you had the Newtonian and Einstein way of looking at certain forces that are moving, and you could do calculations and observations, and then you could maybe move it around a bit. But what we have now is a scientific tyranny, really, here in America, whereby the scientists are serving artificial intelligence run not just the computers and the machines that of commerce and personal computers that people have in their homes and their offices, but you have this. For the example, my telling you that all the weather is controlled, how do you think that is done? Is it done by this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy? No, not at all. It's done by artificial intelligence. It's done by algorithms, and those can be adjusted. For example, if you want the hailstorm in a country in Eastern Europe, that would be done through adjusting an algorithm. And then you would have the AI simply move the equipment in such a way that you would have the rays going down over that particular target area. So we have to begin to think a different way about nature. I'm sorry to be the one to bring you the bad news that there is no real nature as we used to know it. Now, that's not to say that in a certain area of say, Croatia, where you have very good people living who have good thoughts, who have good practices, good agricultural practices. They don't use Roundup. They don't use Monsanto products. They actually have organic food growing, and they take good care of their geography and the animals in the geography and the whole thing. You have this wonderful area. That in itself creates a different frequency from, say, a city in which everyone is working very hard to just barely make ends meet, and there are evil things going on. People are being hurt, and and the police force is crooked, and the mayor is crooked, and in that way, you have a very different frequency in that area. So perhaps you could do something there to bring, for example, do some cloud seeding to bring weather that is conducive to your agriculture and your happiness, your societal happiness. I believe that is true, but right now the overarching system of weather control and through electromagnetism and nanotechnology and chemistry, those three big ones, is so huge. We basically have to live with it and figure out how we can take care of our health, keep our immune system strong, keep our children strong, without turning to the synthetic medicinals that they're now introducing. They're putting it in people's arms, and we're breathing all of this stuff coming down from the chemical trails that is not conducive to human health. So we have this dilemma, which is why I keep talking, writing about the technology. You have to take it into consideration.
Yeah, and whoever wants to read in details about, we will not go today in the details so much because it's too complicated to understand in one role. But whoever wants, I'll put down links for books of Miss Elana, because there you can find all the answers. But now we come to this, what you said. You said that there is no nature weather. And we are now in the middle of everybody saying climate changes and climate crisis. And just 2 days ago, Guterres, Chief General of United Nations, says there is no doubt that human is responsible, and we are now entering in a phase of global warming. We are now coming in the phase of global boiling. And for sure, if you said that human is responsible, but not as the way they are talking about with producing carbon dioxide. It's responsible on another way. And that's why I want to ask you, what does mean boiling? Because in this technology, as I understand, boiling, it means that it's producing a heat in ionosphere and making this technology what is working. Maybe that this has some connection to it.
Yes, you're probably right. Because I have to mention something that a lot of us in America believe now, is that we are now in a state of war. We call it fifth generation warfare. And basically what it means is there are people who serve the globalization dream of the World Health Organization, of the other large installations that have some sort of I want to make sure you're still there. There. Okay, thank you. Because we feel we are at war, our media has been entirely taken over in America. It has been for many, many years. We call it the deep state. It lies, it misleads people who don't know any better, who have their TVs on 24/7, who are just following the tail in front of them. But there are others of us who know much better, who have been, keen observers of what is going on in America and the impact America and NATO are having on the world. With that said, I know that we have to look at science in a different way, so that we are not following the tail in front of us. They're lying to us. The climate change idea is a cover story. I don't know if you know that term. It's an intelligence term. They use it to cover over what they're really doing. They don't want people to know about this classified project called geoengineering. They don't want us to know all the different things that it's able to weaponize and for control over the planet and over the human being in particular. So we then have to turn to our own thinking. But gosh, our own thinking is not very good in most cases now, because people have been completely programmed by television since the 1950s here in the United States. And now they have their iPhones, which, by the way, I don't own one of those either. I've never owned a television or an iPhone, because these are weapon systems created by the American military, and the British military. So I think we need to be more critical of our technologies that we take for granted, that all we think is, if I have enough money, I can get a really cool phone. If I have enough money, I can get a good flat screen plasma TV, and etc. Because these implements are what the military even calls dual use. Very important term. Dual use means it can be used for military objectives and for civilian making profits, corporations producing these technologies to sell, people having their entertainment, and news pretty much is now entertainment as well, because it's mostly lies. So we all have to get hold of our courage and begin to turn in another direction. And I don't know how you can do that if you don't have some knowledge. And that's why I dedicate I have no private life. I dedicate all my time to this, because ever since we had the last 3 years, when I saw what the medical tyranny can do, I have realized that I cannot take for granted that the real Mother Nature's human being will last through this latest huge change in science due to electromagnetics and particularly the nanotechnology. And now, I am moving toward exposing how the geoengineering serves synthetic biology, because that's what's coming down in the latest trails that we're breathing in.
Great. Well, you mentioned something, and I thought to ask you later, but let's go to it. Is it possible that through chemtrails, they spraying viruses through aerosol?
Oh, you're introducing a very big topic there. I don't know that you want to, but I'll say this.
Not short. Don't explain too much, because everything is your
No, I won't.
Just to tell them, is it possible that we receive viruses through the air, through these chemtrails?
Well, I'll tell you, that's not the worst that we could receive from the chemtrails. There's much worse, because we have now, at least the doctors that I work with doctors, I work with electrical engineers to hear what they have to say, to look at the experiments they're doing, because I'm a writer, right? I'm the one who's going to write what they're doing, because they are seeing there is no virus. There never has been a virus. That has been used by the germ warfare technology and philosophy that wants people to feel they are sick and make them go and, in America anyway, pay a bunch of money or give power to the doctors, to the hospitals, to the big pharma, which is nothing more than a huge cartel addicting us to over-the-counter drugs and all the illegal drugs that are being sold and bought and sold by the CIA and other intelligence agencies. I mean, this is such a big picture. But let me tell you what is the worst coming down on us. Not virus. It's mainly the nanotechnology that's coming down, because it's so tiny that we're just breathing it in, goes in our lungs, then it goes in our blood, then it travels, because it's so tiny, it travels straight to the blood-brain barrier and enters our brain. And this is where the problem lies, is the ability to dominate our thoughts, our behaviors, our feelings, our emotions. And now our bodies, our cells, our organs. Is this power or what? So this is now the thing I'm concentrating on the most, is the nanotechnology and its relationship with what is now being termed synthetic biology. It's actually not a good term, because it makes you think it's biological in some way. But it's not. It's artificial. If you're still, I don't know what Croatia is doing, but I think there are 37 or 38 countries in the world now who will not allow genetically modified food in their nation. And I just read that Putin in Russia is now giving land away to people who will grow organic and make beautiful crops for a healthy future of his people. Now, that is an enlightened leader in that one way. I'm not going to discuss Putin, but I love that, because 38 countries are doing the same, and I can only hope that your country will do that, because the strength of a people will be to not eat the genetically modified food. Do you know what that means? That means the seed from which the plant grows, that the cows are fed, etc. That seed is synthetic. It's not from nature. And they don't tell you that. But I have done a great deal of research on this. And this is what in a way, began the transhumanism that we are now subject to through the geoengineering, through the medical establishment, and we need to save ourselves from these things. There's no question about it.
It's a huge topic, and we have to make additional interview just on this, because I heard lots of these things, and we are now have some crisis in agriculture, not only in Europe, like Netherlands, Ireland, we also have in Croatia, but this is something that we have to discuss about. I would like to go deeper in this kind of technology for people who just first time heard about this. I'm not the one who first time heard it, but we are talking now for them. Is there any connection with this geoengineering activities with the so-called pandemic what we faced the last 3 years?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Because the same elite globalists are running both. They're running both. So when you hear about Pfizer, AstraZeneca, etc., Moderna, all of these corporations are working for the same people who right now control geoengineering in a way that it should not be controlled as a weapon. It's the same thing. So you think about what's coming down on us, you think about what's coming out the backs of the jets, of the rockets, and the drones. Even if it's fuel-based, which I now know there is a supplementary system on all these jets, whereby other things are introduced that are controlled from the ground, not controlled at all by the pilots. All those are chemicals. And yes, they have nanotechnology in them, but so do medicinals, so do drugs that the doctor is giving people. They have nanotechnology. Everything has nanotechnology in it now. This revolution of nanotechnology happened back in could have been as early as the late 1970s. But by 1990, it was in full operation in the military and was entering the commercial area, because nanotechnology is an extraordinary technology. It's created from the building blocks of nanotechnology. Say it's a nanobot, a nanorobot that I'm talking about. These little robots look funny when you see pictures of them taken in very high-powered electron microscopes. But they're not funny. They're actual entities composed of atoms built by nanomaterial scientists who get PhDs in that. And there are many nano factories. In fact, I just heard of one that Pfizer owned that was recently destroyed, possibly, Andreas, in the same way that you're talking about the targeting of a certain area. I had a little laugh over that. If we look at this nanotechnology, we can see how it can be loaded with things. It can be, because it has microprocessors in it. Microprocessor is a computer, but on a very tiny, tiny scale. The microprocessors in the nanobot can transmit and receive. So some of what we're breathing in now, it has to do with reading our biometrics and reporting to Pfizer and AstraZeneca. These are nanosensors that are in us. And then the other thing that can happen as the medical industry is utilizing them is you can also deliver things from the sky if you are big pharma and you're controlling that industry as well, which it is. Then you can deliver some of the things that the that the scientists, the neuroscientists, the scientists who control our brain, control our various organs, our blood, they want delivered so that then they can, with the 5G, 6G system, connect with that is now in the person who has breathed it in from the chemical trails. You see what I'm talking about here?
Yes, yes. I see. I had also interview just a few weeks ago about 5G technology, but we were talking about the side of frequencies, what are dangerous for our body. But now there is an additional view that chemtrails, together with HAARP technology and together with 5G and Wi-Fi technology, has same we can say, or different purposes combined together. Can you explain us something about this?
Well, I think that has become evident as we've listened to what we call the telecom industry, the telecommunications industry. They are they have a great deal of freedom. And so much freedom, it's very similar to other very big industries. I mean, it used to be we'd only think of the oil industry, the utilities industry, that give us our electricity. We used to have very few industries, but now we have more. And the ones that have the most power and the most freedom and are the ones that are all in sync with each other in these criminal, and they are criminal. These are all human rights criminal enterprises. They are all working together because at the globalist level of the very wealthy, the very elite, who for years, thousands of years, have pretty much controlled most of life on the earth. They have to do what is sort of ordered from the top, and they are doing it. And they first of all had to develop the technologies. And I remember, I've done a great deal of reading of the history of the United States and how it has been, its Bill of Rights has been completely thwarted. It goes back to the Operation Paperclip, when we brought all those Nazi scientists and engineers into the country, changed their names, their identities, gave them huge salaries and beautiful homes, and ensconced them at our military bases, our universities, our hospitals, gave them the keys to the kingdom because supposedly we admired their scientific acumen so much. And what has happened since then is that entire philosophy of Nazism, this is my opinion, has really taken over at the corporate level. And it isn't just about profits and greed and the things that normally you think of corporations doing. No, I think that they are all kind of in bed together regarding this great dream of transhumanism and of a very small class of people running the entire earth on all levels. I really think that's what we're witnessing, which is why people here in the United States anyway, we have an alternate press going on the internet, which is made fun of, and we're all conspiracy people, and and we shouldn't be listened to. That's what the New York Times and the Washington Post all say. But we have been able to learn enough to see the extent to which they are now revealing themselves as being completely anti-human, and not. It isn't just for profits. It isn't just to make money off of us, though they are making a lot of money off of people's fear. But to me, if we wake up and we begin to make decisions regarding where we spend our money, who we go to for our health, what we do about our health. We take back our responsibility for our health, our mental health, for our technology in the home, really make some hard decisions that maybe get rid of the TV. I recommend to everyone to get rid of their television and to get rid of their cell phone, because we have to wean ourselves from the corporations. That's obvious. And of course, then you have some hardship there, because they've taught us to be almost addicted to these technological items. So that's kind of how I see it. That they all work together, in part because they're all wealthy and that's their class. But that's not the entire thing. I think they are serving those who have, particularly the Nazi element, which has this dream of transhumanism, of really getting rid of the natural human being and building a slave class. That I'm already seeing on the internet from time to time, people who obviously are not entirely human.
Nitko vas neće natjerati da se poklonite zvijeri, učinit ćete to svoje voljno, odbacujući vjeru. Bićete laka meta za zvijeri, jer se niste podredili vjeri. Ako se ne podredite vjeri, podredit ćete se zvijeri. Toliko ćete se suobličiti sa ovim svijetom, da nećete ni prepoznati da ste u zabludi. Biće to najveća demonska prevara ikada i pravedno zaslužena osuda nad nepokajanim grešnicima.